Picture this, it's 1968. You're a band that almost nobody in your home country has heard of, and yet 3,000 miles away in America, you're a sensation. Your debut single just cracked the top 5 on the Billboard charts. The phone is ringing off the hook, the label wants more, management wants more, everyone wants more, and you have 3 months to deliver. This is a story of how Deep Purple, under impossible pressure, in a reportedly haunted building with almost no new material, created one of the most overlooked albums in the history of hard rock. This is the Book of Taliesyn. Let's set the scene. Deep Purple's debut album, Shades of Deep Purple, had done something remarkable. Their cover of Joe South's Hush rocketed to number 4 on the US Billboard charts. Back home in Britain, barely a whisper, but in America, their label, Tetragrammaton, co-founded by, of all people, comedian Bill Cosby, knew they had something, and they were not about to let that momentum die. So the band was pushed straight back into the studio. No real break, no time to breathe. Bassist Nick Simper would later say that management was simply working them to death. There was just one problem. They had almost no new material already. So what do? You adapt, get creative, and apparently you find the spookiest possible place to rehearse. The band relocated to a house in Actonvale, London. They started rehearsals at a local pub. The name of the pub was the Red Lion. But they were so loud, the police station next door complained they couldn't hear their own radio communications. So think about that for a second. A band so loud they drowned out the police. Eventually they landed at the Hanwell Community Center, a Gothic Victorian complex that had once been a children's home and was, by all accounts, rumored to be haunted. Whether that atmosphere crept into the music is something you can decide for yourself, but listening to this album, you have to wonder. Recording sessions ran from August through October 1968 at the Lane Lear Studios in London. And there was one development that would change everything. The studio had just taken delivery of a brand new 8-track recording machine. For a band this experimental, 4 extra tracks wasn't just a technical upgrade, it was a key to an entirely new room. Now here's where things get really interesting. Because facing a deadline with barely any original songs written, Deep Purple did what they'd done on the debut. They took other people's songs and completely dismantled them. The lead single was Kentucky Woman. Kentucky Woman. Yes, that Neil Diamond song. The gentle, folksy original, except Deep Purple didn't want gentle. At John Lord's suggestion, they rebuilt it with an aggressive, pounding drive inspired by Mitch Ryder and the Detroit Wheels. It hit US Top 40. Neil Diamond reportedly wasn't thrilled, but it worked. Then there's Wring That Neck. Or as the American label nervously renamed it, Hard Road, apparently deciding that Wring That Neck was a little too on the nose. This instrumental is crucial to understanding where Deep Purple was heading. The interplay between Lord's Hammond organ and Blackmore's guitar is ferocious. And live, the song was stretched into sprawling improvisational jams that left audiences stunned. You can hear the proto-metal machine starting to crank. But the track I want you to pay close attention to, the one that almost nobody talks about, is Anthem. If the day would only come, then you... Co-written by vocalist Rod Evans and John Lord, it's a haunting ballad that halfway through transforms into something completely unexpected. A Baroque-style string quartet arrangement that sounds closer to Bach than to rock and roll. Or in other words, it was Bach and roll. In 1968, before prog rock had even fully formed, before Genesis, Deep Purple were already quietly doing this. And then the album closes with something almost audacious. A 10-minute rendition of River Deep, Mountain High. Introduced by the thundering opening notes of Also Sprach Zarathustra, a piece of classical music that same year was included in the movie 2001: A Space Odyssey. It was a statement, a line in the sand. These 5 musicians were telling anyone who listened, we're not a pop band anymore. And somewhere in the middle of all this, they covered the Beatles' We Can Work It Out. I'll ask you once again. Paul McCartney apparently heard it and approved. which is either cool or a little intimidating depending on your perspective. But now, here's where the story takes a strange turn. In America, the album did exactly what the label hoped. It reached number 54 on the Billboard chart. The band performed on The Dating Game and Hugh Hefner's Playboy After Dark. They toured as the opening act for Cream on their farewell tour, no less. American audiences were hungry for them. Back in Britain, the album wasn't even released until June 1969, 8 months after the US release. By the time British listeners could actually buy it, Deep Purple had already recorded their third album and was secretly plotting to fire both the singer and the bassist, and I'll be talking about that in the next video in this series. But the album didn't chart at home. It was, in many ways, a ghost record in its own country. When the critical reception was split, legendary DJ John Peel found it a little restrained compared to the band's explosive live shows. Others praised its innovation, the mythical cover art, sprawling arrangements, the classical ambitions. It connected with the American counterculture audience it was aimed at. But it slipped through the cracks in Britain almost entirely. So where does the Book of Taliesyn sit in the Deep Purple story? Most fans jump straight to the Holy Trinity in rock: Fireball, Machine Head, the Mark II era, Gillian streaming, Blackmore shredding, Pace thundering, and yes, those albums are monuments. But if you want to understand how Deep Purple got there, this is the record you need to hear. This is the moment the 60s psychedelic group started hardening into something heavier. You can hear it in Wring That Neck, in the aggression behind Listen, Learn, Read On, in the sheer ambition of the closing 10-minute epic. Ritchie Blackmore's guitar hero instincts were awakening. John Lord's dream of fusing rock with orchestra music, which would fully materialize in 1969's Concerto for Group and Orchestra, another album I'll be talking about soon, was already taking shape right here. Rod Evans and Nick Simper, the vocalist and bassist who would soon be replaced, deserved far more credit than history usually gives them. Their melodic, almost symphonic contributions gave this record a sensitivity that the harder Mark II lineup would largely leave behind. The Book of Taliesyn is a buried gem, a transitional record that was never quite given its moment. 3 months, a haunted rehearsal space, almost no new material, and a label demanding results. What they made under those conditions is remarkable. So check out this playlist with more Deep Purple album reviews. I will be adding them as I make them. This is the second video in the series. In the meantime, thanks for watching. Please like the video. Helps me with the YouTube algorithm. Please subscribe if you're not already. I do rock and metal reviews, rankings, and more. Thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next one.